Hello, my name is Elvina Gavargas, and today I will be talking about the importance of colonialism while analyzing both its negative and positive effects in the past and present. Many people believe that in the past, colonialism never established a positive outcome. Colonialism is often seen as a form of taking control over another country by destroying and disregarding the already built culture, regime, and religion. Diving into their text, Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart and Munshi Premchand's My Big Brother each demonstrate a strong presence of both the positive and negative effects of colonialism. Although both of these authors come from two very different ethnicities, the political, cultural, and historical context behind each text is exceptionally similar. Let's dive right into Munshi Premchand. He was born in 1880 and was the very first Hindi author to feature realism, problems of the poor, and working middle class in his writing. In the 1900s, he was heavily inspired by political affairs and satirized Indians who cooperated with the British government. By the 1920s, Premchand became influenced by Gandhi's non-cooperation movement with the British imperial regime and India's struggle for social reform, resigning his post as an assistant master. He had the ability and observation to see both the demands of Indian society and literature, and very often translated different literary works of other languages into Hindi or Urdu. Colonization in India emerged between 1858 and 1947 under the British Raj. During this time, there was an immense impact of Western civilization and the beginning of introducing the English language all throughout schools in India. Many Hindustani people feared that the Hindu and Muslim India would become converted to Christianity as a result of the rapid cultural changes made under the British rule. When the British migrated to India, certain social and cultural practices underwent changes. The British brought along with them the modernity of liberty, equality, freedom, and human rights from the Reformation movement and other revolutions that occurred in Europe, inspired to make India a part of the modern scientific process. One of their main strategies was to educate the Indian people of the English language so that they could be prepared to work as clerks for lower wages than the British demanded. Due to its colonization, India quickly became known as the richest country in the world. This quote from Premchand's My Big Brother portrays the importance of one's experience of life and the world's historical moments due to their age and not from simply reading books. Although one is able to learn about the world's past historical moments by reading, it isn't the same as physically living through these moments for yourself. Those who were present during the times of colonization have obtained a different experience than those who have read about it in books. Many people of the younger generation believe that those who are older than them are just old and stupid, rather than believing that they have simply gone through the same things we have, gaining knowledge and knowing what to do and what not to do. Because the youngest brother lacks the maturity and experience of his eldest brother, he fails to see that his brother is only trying to protect and guide him in the right direction of life, holding the right mindset. Now, let's move on to Chinua Achebe. He was born in 1930 and was extremely inspired by the effects of Christianity and the clash between the Western and traditional African values, both during and after colonization. Written in 1953, Things Fall Apart was one of Chinua Achebe's very first novels and is often considered to be one of his best. Due to this successful novel, Achebe is characterized to be a fundamental novelist in African identity, nationalism, and decolonization. Before Things Fall Apart, many other European authors, much like Joseph Conrad, misrepresented Africans as savages who were uneducated, uncivilized, and in desperate need of Western enlightenment. However, rather than illustrating his text to be from the viewpoint of the invaders, Achebe allows readers to delve into the effects of European colonialism from a different perspective. This text has given a voice to the African people and allowed those of other ethnicities to see colonization through their eyes rather than through the invaders. Due to Achebe's devotion to his culture, many question why he decided to write Things Fall Apart in English and not in the Igbo language. He claims that colonialism gave Africans a language with which they could talk to one another, which illustrates the strong influence and positive outcome colonization had. Colonialization in Nigeria began during the 1800s and lasted until 1960 when an independence movement succeeded in gaining Nigeria its independence. The motive behind the British invasion of colonialism was both to preserve some of the cultures of the Igbo tribes and also to introduce modern technology, Western political and social concepts. As a result, there were many terrible and painful consequences for the African people, such as slavery and kidnapping. Once the British took over, almost everything they used contained technology, while the tools used by the Nigerians became irrelevant and forgotten. Although there were many negative aspects of colonization, there was also an advantage to it as well. Due to the fact that the Europeans were heavily exposed to the numerous amounts of unknown diseases traveling from Africa, they had no choice but to find ways to treat them, which eventually led them to find cures. This passage from Things Fall Apart perfectly describes the tension and rebellion between the Igbo community and the white European settlers during the time of colonization in Nigeria. The European settlers came into Nigeria with the motive to introduce the white man's religion and convert the Igbo communities to Christianity. As a result of the settlers' motivation to take control over Nigeria, the Igbo community slowly started to see their cultural values change. Many of these changes were seen within their religion, culture, language, family life, and children. Everything the Igbo community had built in the years past had been destroyed and abolished as though they had never existed. Although they were very unsettled with this new religion and culture, there was nothing they could have done to reverse the changes that were already made. We can take away the idea that both authors of the text illustrated the outcome of pre and post colonialism in India and in Nigeria. Achebe definitely made the effects of colonization clearer than Premchand, portraying how and why the Igbo community's culture and religion fell apart. He not only does this, but he is given the opportunity to use his platform to provide a voice for those who are being suppressed. Although this was quite some time ago, today African Americans are still fighting for their voices to be heard. The international activist movement group Black Lives Matter is a campaign against violence and systematic racism towards people of color. However, Premchand tended to indirectly portray how colonialism affected the personalities and interests of two brothers through education, competition, and success. Both authors illustrated the positive outcomes of colonialism, such as finding cures for illnesses and diseases, the upbringing of the English language, and expressing the social, historical, and cultural changes each country had to undergo for the better. Even though colonialism took place during different times in each country, these texts didn't fail to illustrate the immense and difficult transitions both nations had to overcome. At the end of this presentation is my works cited and photo credits. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you so much for watching.